Welcome to our latest edition of our Spotlight interviews. This morning, we're joined by Donna Drinka, Program Director, Community Casework Department, Housing Counseling, Lake County. Morning, Donna.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Well, you're great. It's great of you to take the time this morning. These brief interviews really have just two objectives. One is to thank people like you with Catholic Charities and your staff that are doing such great work, especially in this time of heightened need brought on by the pandemic. And the second objective is for the Board of Advisors that may see this video is we hope to inform them. Maybe it'll give somebody an idea of where someone in their network could be helpful to you or that they can be helpful to you. And so those are really the two simple objectives. And so we'll just get started and maybe you could tell me a little bit about, just tell us about yourself. And then we'll talk about the agency and the work you do.
Sure. As Tom mentioned, my name is Donna Drinka. I have a master's degree in social work. And prior to working in social work, I was actually in the corporate world. But during my employment in the corporate world, something was missing. And so I returned to school and I received my social degrees at Jane Addams School of Social Work at UIC. And then I transitioned into social services. And currently I am the program director at Catholic Charities, and I oversee the housing case management program, as well as family self-sufficiency and House of Peace. And I've worked for Catholic Charities for 14 years.
Wow, thank you. Can you just help put a little color around the mission of your department and the agencies that you oversee?
Sure. Well, I'm going to just focus on the housing case management and serve the underserved population. Some of our clients would be the people that you see in the streets, and maybe you go on the other side and walk around them, or you ignore them because of how they look, how they act, how they smell. These are some of our clients. Our program assists individuals and families with dignity. We help them find a place to live, but they have a choice. You know, we take into consideration their where they want to live based on maybe the transportation line or their place of employment or where they volunteer, where they have some support system. We work together to find this new apartment for our families. And sometimes we're the only source of support. They may have burned their bridges with families and friends, and their only source of support is their case manager. During our relationship with our clients, we coach and model healthy relationships. We advocate heavily on their behalf, whether it's with a landlord or with a utility company. Our work is non-judgmental. You know, a lot of our clients come into our program with a horrendous criminal background or housing history. You know, that doesn't matter. You know, we're building trust from the very beginning, and we really want our clients to succeed. You know, that's all we want for them. And we treat them as a person, you know, not as a person who is experiencing homelessness.
All right, terrific. Thanks. I am curious, especially during this time, how the pandemic has impacted your work.
Yeah, it's been very interesting that during the early part of the pandemic, more individuals and families were utilizing homeless services, such as at pads of Lake County. That's the primary source of where our clients come from. And people were scared, you know, and if they were staying with someone, they may have been asked to leave. So they had no place to go. So they're going to pads. And so then that meant that our numbers were increasing as to the clients who needed to be served. And we actually received 4 additional grants that were COVID related. And we hired 4 temp staff, and we basically doubled our current staff to serve, you know, this growing population. And since last April of 2020, we've housed 48 families. So that's about an average of 1 per week, which is pretty good.
That's tremendous. We had a board meeting last night, and I was relaying a story where another meeting I attended, somebody asked the question, is the agency fulfilling its mission? Which is, the central question really of any organization like Catholic Charities. And the incredible thing is that with all of the additional demand created by the pandemic and the hurdles and restrictions put on agencies like yours to do your work due to the pandemic, still Catholic Charities and your staff and your team are meeting the mission, filling the mission, and it's a real credit to you, and you deserve our thanks for that.
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, our staff has just been working hard, and we're tired. We certainly are tired, but I mean, we know that the clients just keep coming, and we need to be there for them. And because there are times it's like, if Catholic Charities doesn't do it, who's going to do it? And so we have to step up to the plate and to serve, especially the homeless population.
Are there challenges that you face that today? Some of the, maybe describe for our group some of the bigger challenges that your agency and your staff face.
Sure. I think that since I've been in social services, that the biggest challenges for clients have been limited income, lack of transportation, childcare, and affordable housing. Those have been like the big four, again, since I've started, and there really hasn't changed much. Like with affordable housing, that there's just limited stock in Lake County. Rent is just extremely high. And there are just many families out there and individuals that without some sort of subsidy, they just can't afford it.
Yeah.
And then like for our program, I think the biggest challenge is that we have a wonderful partnership with the furniture ministry, but there are times that we need help moving our families into their new apartment. And sometimes, again, that it's on the shoulders of the case manager, and our case managers can't be carrying couches up, flights of stairs. And so it's, the client trying to get some other family members or friends to help out. And sometimes we just have to postpone the furniture movement because we don't have anyone to help assist in moving the furniture.
And I guess that's maybe a good segue to my next question about our board of advisors, those that may watch this video. What are the ways that a member of the board of advisors could be helpful to you and to your staff?
I would say be a voice for this population. Challenge your friends. If you're gathering and comments for some reason the homeless population comes as a topic of conversation, and negative comments are made, that they're lazy or that they're all addicts. That's just not all true. A lot of the reasons that some of our clients are in the situation that they're in, it's out of their control. For like a loss of employment or health issues within their families. Again, that lack of support system. Many of us are very close to becoming homeless, maybe 1 or 2 paychecks away. And, people have told me, when I explain what I do and the different programs that we have at Catholic Charities, that, they'll say, oh, I wish someone would pay my monthly rent. And my response to them is that you don't want their lives. The only reason that these individuals and families are in our programs are basically because of their current livelihood. And they have daily challenges and daily struggles, and you don't want their lives. You just don't.
I appreciate it. I'm always intrigued when I talk to people from the various programs and departments of Catholic Charities. The department will have a title, but the activities, the support they give, the number of ways they support, it always amazes me. It's never as simple as housing. It's never as simple as employment. And so I'm curious, next, what what could you tell the Board of Advisors that we might be surprised to learn about the work that you and your group do?
I would say with the landlords, they're not always open to serving our clients. And we know the landlords are in this for business, or, this is their business, this is their livelihood, and they need money. But they also see our clients as a risk. And some landlords are open to giving our clients a chance. I wish it'd be more open. So our clients, they do come with some housing barriers. But like we had one particular client who came into the program, she had consistent income, it was pretty high income. And we thought, there's not going to be any issues in being able to house this client. Well, she was denied because of her poor credit. And so that was just, very disheartening. As an incentive for landlords, our grants are set up that we're allowed to give the landlord double security deposit as well as last month's rent. And so we're able to give the landlord quite a bit of money up front. We do mediate with our landlord and clients a lot, and we try to establish a partnership from the very beginning, so that everyone's all on the same page. The landlord knows our client and our program, the client understands what their responsibilities are, and then everyone knows what the role is of a case manager, because a case manager is available to the landlord and to the client. And a lot of times, our landlords go through the case manager rather than working with the client, which sometimes is fine. But we also do want to coach the client in becoming, understanding what their rights and responsibilities are. We coach them in being a good tenant and a good neighbor. We coach them in having the understanding of the housing priorities, that they have to pay their rent in a timely manner, that they need to pay their utility bills. And we really want the clients, to be able to reestablish their link to the community and, be a successful part of the society.
So to really drive the point home, can you think of a client story that you think would help to really help give us a full vision of the kind of work that you and your staff do?
Sure. This story, it just, I don't know, it warms my heart. In our CTI program, we had a client who was moving into his new unit, and the case manager was transporting all of his furniture in the van. And so she couldn't transport the furniture plus the client. And then he had a couple friends who were also from the program that were going to help him move his furniture. They couldn't all fit in the van. So I drove the client and his friends, and the case manager drove his belongings. And so while I was driving the clients, it's just so funny because they're sitting in the back seat and they're talking and laughing, and they pointed to St. Annie's and said, "Oh, they have the best soup kitchen, and like their lasagna is the best. Donna, you got to go there." And they're just laughing, and it just, it wasn't. They were people. They were not homeless guys in my back, back in my car, and so we get to the client's new apartment, and his apartment was not in a complex. It's a one level. And so we drive in, and the case manager is standing there, and the client walks up, and we're all behind him, and she hands him his keys. And he just had the biggest smile of joy, and his friends are there to celebrate with him. And so we walk into the apartment, and he's just so excited. And because he has keys, he has an address. Some of our clients indicate that with an address, there's somebody. He has an identity now. And it was just so fun and cool to be there to celebrate with him. And a number of our case managers state that one of the most happy and just acknowledging of their job is when they see the smile on the client's face when they receive their keys. And with that, Tom, I just want to say that, you know, I could not do any of this without my team. As I stated earlier, that they have worked endlessly and tirelessly for these clients. And they care so much and they're so compassionate. They would bend over backwards for these clients, because really all we want is for them to be successful. And that's back into that, I'm sorry, and not cycle back into that that homeless cycle.
Yeah, I thank you for sharing that, and I thank you for your time today. When you and I were on the phone last week, I mentioned a book that I had read called Evicted. It was a Pulitzer Prize winning book, and I kind of wanted to close the segment by just reading a couple sentences from that stood out. And in it, he writes, "What else is a nation but a patchwork of cities and towns a patchwork of neighborhoods, and neighborhoods a patchwork of homes. America is supposed to be a place where you can better yourself, your family, and your community, but this is only possible if you have a stable home." And I just want to thank you on behalf of our community and Catholic Charities Board of Advisors, you and your staff, for the work you do in providing stable homes for people to have the opportunity to have a better life. So thank you very much for your time today. To our Board of Advisors, if you have contacts, if you are out and the subject of homelessness comes up, maybe take Donna's advice and remind them that these are people. And everybody's got a story, and we very seldom know their whole story. Donna, thank you so much. This was a terrific segment. You're great. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Appreciate it.